And welcome back. I'm Mabel Jong. You're watching WHCC TV, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for watching. This is our one-stop shop here for all of the great content coming out of the World Healthcare Congress. And in our studio right now, we have CAPT Jason Woo. He is Senior Medical Officer, Office of Generic Drugs at the FDA. So, Captain Woo, this is your first time here at the World Healthcare Congress. Yeah. What are you planning to bring to the meeting while you're here?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. First, as you mentioned, it's my first time here at the World Congress, and I got invited to be a participant on the Women's Leadership panel for tomorrow. So I'm just excited to learn from my colleagues on the panel and also from the audience what kind of challenges there are, particularly in the healthcare world for women. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so what have you learned already just being in your job day to day? What sort of challenges there are?
Sure. Well, my interest in healthcare, and particularly in women's needs, started. I was doing postdoc work in third world development 30 plus years ago, and what struck me was the burden of maternal mortality in the third world on families, particularly even just childbearing. You know, when women are having 8, 9, 10 pregnancies, sooner or later they're going to die, and the burden that created for the third world and the economic advance. And so the opportunity came back to study medicine. I became an OBGYN and worked for the Indian Health Service out west for a number of years. And that really kind of reinforced my perspective that women are the chief medical officers of their families, and if we can't help women's, in particularly so many places in the world, even here in the U.S., that we're not going to be able to advance the needs, the health and wealth of the nation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So are you finding that there are more attention is being paid to this need to support women and their roles both in the workplace and at home and on the medical side as well?
Absolutely. I'm excited about the focus on diversity, and I think that's inclusiveness. And so as a minority myself, I've spent 30 years in the Commission Corps of the Public Health Service, and a lot of folks don't know about us, but we're about 6,800 officers spread out in 9 different departments of the federal government, 800 different duty stations, and diversity is a critical component of our success, to be able to, what I call the breadth and depth of public health, to be able to serve the needs of communities, tribes, international response missions. If we're not mindful of our diversity and what that brings to the table. And so I'm not sure we have as much of a diversity problem as I think exists in healthcare more broadly. You see a lot of the changes happening, which are exciting, but one of the things I think concerning is we don't need to have the same type of old infighting or challenges that sort of the old group still bears. And how do we begin to change the paradigm for growth and improvement in healthcare without relying kind of on the old tools.
Okay. You work in the generic drugs area of the FDA. There's been a lot of attention being paid to that particular area because of the recent, departure
Shortages.
Of your commissioner. Right. So what sort of focus needs to be paid to at the FDA in this area?
Well, we're a regulatory agency, so we can't really speak to the access to care. But I came back to the agency 6 years ago when we were standing up the new generic drug user fee program. In my deployments in my service, the Indian Health Service, on my response missions, I can't operate without generics. Right? That's the basic truth. Is while there are drugs available, if folks can't afford them, they're not going to have access. So coming back to the agency for me was a great opportunity to help stand up something that will help hopefully improve access. And my focus has mostly been on helping improve the process of getting applications reviewed. There's a whole host of stuff that happens in the outside world, and maybe the commissioner, who just recently left, will be focusing on that. We're doing our best to help improve that process, but the market has other factors that are beyond our control.
Okay, so in terms of getting more accessibility to affordable drugs, the process is quite complicated and long. So how should we start to view that, and might we see some improvement in terms of timeline and getting drugs to market?
Yeah, we're making progress in addressing a lot of the workload that historically has been within the generic drug program, and the collaboration with industry around trying to improve the communications, the information that's made available earlier. So a lot of these are works in progress. So we expect the program to continue to improve.
And you get asked to speak at a lot of conferences. Why choose this one?
Well, I was excited about, after 30 years, I will actually be retiring in August from the Commission Corps, and I'm excited about the next stage. For me, it's focusing on how to continue to improve health across borders, within our current U.S. healthcare system, but also in general in communities. As I mentioned, the public health, we're pretty much broad and deep. We touch a lot of lives. How do we help improve and overcome the barriers? One of the challenges I've learned in my career is I often get in my own way. Part of the challenge for us who are in service in uniform is we tend to believe our own story, right? With the nature of what we're doing is important, so everyone should believe in that. And should help us do that. But also being public health, we're not often funded the way we think we should. And sometimes that can get in our own way. And I'm just hoping to be able to share some of that experience of how do we get unstuck when we find ourselves in those circumstances.
All right. Captain Woo, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the time. Very nice meeting. Thank you.
And I'm Mabel Jong. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We have many more interviews to come.